My name is Tiffaney Daniels. I'm a project manager and estimator with a civil construction company here in Nanaimo. This is a story of my dad and I and how I lost him to mental health 30 years ago today when I was 15 years old. I'm hoping that in telling this story, it'll help raise funds for mental health and crisis services here because he went for help, and if there had been help available, I feel I still would have him 30 years later. To tell the story of my dad and I to help raise funds for the Samaritan House expansion because it's a crisis house, and I feel if there were one of those where my dad had lived, he would still be here. I was born in Elliott Lake, Ontario in 1971. At the time, it was a uranium mining town. My dad got hired there as a survey engineer, so he ended up spending the next 17 years designing the mine and everywhere they went. And he was schizophrenic. His father was schizophrenic. We don't know what happened to his dad. So he came out a couple times while I was growing up to try and find me. One time I remember my uncle told me he made it as far as Vancouver, and then he went into, I call him a schizophrenic attack, but I don't know what the right phrase is. And they came and got him because he started trying to direct traffic in downtown Vancouver, and just so my uncle and my grandma drove up and got him, and that was one of the tries.
What age were you when you left him?
One. He came back into my life when I was 14, and we were just getting to know each other over the phone and with letters. And that's when, so 1987 it got through, so I'm 15 now. Is it 15? Yeah, I was 15. We moved, so we were just getting to know each other, exchanging letters. We moved, so we had to change a number and stuff, and he thought he'd lost me, and he felt another schizophrenic attack coming on, and it was a couple days, and because he was very good at managing it, he would give talks to schizophrenic societies, and again, his job clearly showed that he was able to manage it. He always went for help. He was long established in the community with this illness for 17 years. So he thought he'd lost me because we'd lost touch. I was waiting to hear from him. He was waiting to hear from me. And he left work and he said, I'm going to go to the doctor. He says, and the preceding days, he was like, I think I've lost her. I can't get a hold of her. And that went on for a couple of weeks. So finally that ended with, I'm leaving work. I'm going to the doctor. I need help. Something's going to click here. So he went for help, and they sent him away and asked him to come back in a couple days when his doctor would be there. And he said, I won't make it if you send me away. And they sent him away, and he didn't make it. He shot himself in the chest with his hunting rifle. And when he didn't show up for work, the workers, of course, they'd worked with him for 17 years. They loved him. They knew right away to phone somebody. And they found him there. And I didn't know all of this until I was 19, and I went out there to get him a headstone. I drove across Canada summer 91. And today, that helped me piece together how this all happened. What I knew up until then was he was coming back into my life. And then the police showed up. It feels like this Sunday morning as well, 30 years ago. I actually feel the anniversary of this Sunday more than that he killed himself today 30 years ago. Because I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning, and 6:05 I knew the police showed up, and at 6:20 my mom woke me up, and spent the day down in the field at the creek with my dog, yelling and crying and pleading. So I feel that anniversary today just as much. But getting back to how I pieced it together in 91, when I drove out, I met his family and all his coworkers, and they all told me the story from their point of views, because they all wanted to talk to me, and they loved meeting me. I think helped them. They had a big lunch when we were all together, and they all just watched me the whole time I was eating, and I was really uncomfortable at first, and then I realized that they saw my dad in me, and then it was giving them some peace. But many of them spoke to me one-on-one. Quite a few cried because they all individually felt personally responsible for my dad's death. they all said things like, I should have known, I should have checked on him, should have made sure his visit to the hospital went okay. The friend that he told, one of his two closest friends, that he said they sent me away, and my dad convinced him, no, you don't have to come over. He's like, I should have insisted on coming over. They all felt if they had done something more, my dad would still be alive. But, and the piecing it together, like going to work every day, really upset, saying I've lost her, I can't find her, I think I've lost her. So being that he went for help. If there had been a crisis center there, I think he would have survived because he didn't want to die. We were just reuniting. My coworker said he was happy. He was happier than he'd ever been. They grew up with pictures of me that my grandma was sending him. And if there was just some place to go, he would be here.
He did reach out and then was...
Yeah, he did not want to kill himself. And it changed my life, changed me. Like, just changed me from that moment on. And I was alone with it because he's only my dad. And I just, if I can prevent this from happening to anyone or their loved ones, because it devastated all of us. I don't think there's any one person who knew him or care about him that it didn't affect. You know, like there was one man, I just remember what his other best friend in particular sitting on the trunk of his car. He cried for about half an hour talking to me, and by the end he was smiling, and because I told him my side of the view, and he didn't feel so responsible. But it's I'm sure it's with all of them still. And the effect it had on me for the rest of my life. Well, I've fought to recover from it ever since. Like when I told this story once before, Joanne said, that must be hard to recover from. And my response came right away, and it was just, I'll let you know. So I was 15, he was 42, and it was 30 years ago today. Daddy shot himself in the chest.
It's a tough age to lose your dad.
Yeah.
Really
And when we were just reuniting too, I was thinking, it's just like in the movies. Like it felt like my stomach got ripped out. I did scream and I fell to the floor. It all sounds very dramatic, but that's what happened. I hadn't even lost a dog before then. And I was just so pleased that for the months we were getting to know each other, and then just boom. Like that's it forever. It was a physical response. And then I took my dog and I went down to the creek and the fields and stuff, and I spent the day crying and pleading and yelling.
What did it mean to you when you met with his family afterwards?
A lot. It was a lot because I heard stories about him. I got to see pictures. I heard stories he used to tell. That's how I know he tried to find me. That's how I know my grandma was sending him photos of me. And things he would say things he would teach them when they were growing up, like how to make a pipe bomb, and they blew up the picnic table. And he used to show them rocks. And I love rocks and minerals. That's why I'm in construction. I like math, rocks, dirt, trees, machinery. And they would tell me how bored they were. And I'd be like, rocks? He showed you rocks? What did he show you? And I wish he'd showed me rocks. So I inherited his rocks. But it helped me learn a lot about him, how he felt about me, about my mom separating us, about how he looked for me that whole time. And just how he became healthier and happier when he found me. And it was that my mom felt that maybe it was safe now, and she put us in touch. So, and he was still in the house where I was born. So I could have found him when I was older if I did. Yeah. So in a nutshell, he was a healthy, functioning schizophrenic, going through something, knew he needed help. Help wasn't available, and I lost him.
So I wonder if back then they had the medication. Did they have some medication to help him?
Yes, he was doing very well. As I said, he would give talk at schizophrenic societies, and his job to cover for him after he passed, they hired 6 people.
Wow.
And like he designed the first underground. I got to go 1 kilometer underground in the uranium mine when I went out that summer, and he made the first he designed the first, or engineered the first, drive-out ramp, so they could more than double production rather than shooting everything out with two shafts that he had also designed. They had this ramp, and supposedly it was so, they were very proud of it, and said it was the first in North America. And he just knew every inch of that mine, and it covered the whole community. We drove for kilometers up there. It was fantastic. And they said, quote, he never missed once. The general manager of the mine told me that one. I said, you know, your dad never missed once. I'm telling them where to come through on another tunnel or cavern or. So yes, the medication, it had improved a lot between 1970 when he first went there and 87 when he passed. He was doing very well, and he was an inspiration to others. That's one thing that helped me give this little story, because he was given his stories. So it'll just, if it helps somebody have a place to go, that'll help their mom and dad and their sisters and maybe their daughter.
Information and education is so important for people to understand, to really do more.
He went for help, and you know, there's people who want to help, and it didn't work that time. So I figure if I can help Samaritan House more than double their beds, and if you can use this for other ways to raise funds so people have a place to go somewhere, then then I can tell about